Hi, everybody. John Farring here with LiveLARGE Universe, and I am excited about tonight's episode, probably more than you guys can imagine. I am here with my new friend, Jessy. Jessy, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, bonjour tout le monde, ça va super bien. Je suis tellement contente d'être ici avec John sur le podcast à Live Large Universe. Puis, je suis vraiment contente que vous soyez là. Merci de tuning in avec nous pour suivre ce qui se passe avec nous cette saison-ci.
What? What were you? Well, excuse me? Like, is my headset broken? Like, what's going on over there? Like, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't speak French. But what did you tell
Oh,
everybody? What did you tell
oh,
everybody?
I'm
What did
so
you
sorry. I thought this was in
Oh,
French.
I'm so sorry. I thought we clarified this was going to be an English interview tonight. So
Oh, sorry. I was basically just thanking everyone for being here with us tonight and saying that I'm grateful that you're here tuning in with us.
awesome, awesome. Well, welcome to the beginning of the show. We pranked all of you. If you're coming here for an English interview, you're in the right place. If you're here for the French interview, I'm sure that's out there somewhere. You've got some French interviews out there somewhere, I bet, don't you?
Sometimes, but it's very rare.
There we go. There we go. All right, everybody. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for watching. If you're coming in right now, go into the comments. Go into the comments and type in hello. Let us know where you're watching from. So when you do that, it does a few things. It lets us know who's watching because otherwise, all I see is numbers up there above my head and I can see the number of people watching. But if you comment, then I can see who is watching. I can give you a shout out, say thank you for watching. We'll see where people from are watching from. We love it when people are watching from British Columbia or maybe Quebec or maybe Washington or Minnesota or, who knows? Maybe. Did you see in the news that they were snowmobiling in Florida this week?
I know, I seen that. That was pretty crazy. There was people having like snowball fights downtown in
That was
some city
amazing.
in Florida, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
snowmobiling in Florida. So if you're from Florida and you're snowmobiling, go into the comments and let us know where you're watching from. So we're looking for comments. Let us go. And while you're doing this, we're also going to let you know that if you share the show out, so by commenting in there, they've got Snowmobile Wisconsin is here. My buddy Dave. Dave, thanks for coming in. By doing this and then also sharing the show out, we're going to do multiple things too. We're going to boost the algorithm here on Facebook, and they're going to think it's more important, so more people are going to see it, which is good because we want Jessy to get some exposure here and have some fun tonight.
Yay!
But
Thank you
also,
guys.
if you share, I've got a surprise for you tonight. We've got a new prize up for grabs. I've got this kokanee dry bag from Mountain Lab. So Mountain Lab continues to sponsor the show. The backcountry first aid kit I will give away probably tonight, maybe even at the end of this show. If I don't do it during the show, I'll do it immediately after the show on a separate recording. But we might do it. So Jessy, what do you think? Should we do it at the end of this show and give
Yes,
away
of
give away our
course.
backcountry first aid kit from the previous guest? Because I think I've got it all ready. We can do it, but we'll wait till the very end of the show to do that. So, all
Perfect.
right.
I'm totally keen.
Perfect, perfect. So, all right. So, kokanee dry bag, great gear bag. You can throw it in your side by side, in your snowmobile tunnel bag, whatever you need to keep your stuff dry. But again, share the show out, and you will be entered in to win this beautiful dry bag from Mountain Lab. So, thank you, Mountain Lab, for helping us get prizes for the show to be able to give away. So, we've got Sharon is here from NB. Is that what is
New
that?
Brunswick.
New
Hi,
Brunswick.
Sharon.
New Brunswick. Awesome, awesome. So Sharon is here. We've got Sodi Clave here from Northern California, regular. And we got Dave here from some Wisconsin. Everybody else is being shy. So if you guys are watching, go in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. And we'll keep checking in. As the comments come in, I'll pause the show later on and we'll give you guys a shout out too. We're grateful because honestly, if Jessy and I are just here talking, especially in French, it doesn't matter. It only matters if somebody's watching. So
That's
awesome.
right.
Awesome. Well, Jessy, you and I have been following each other on Facebook for a while, and we actually had a fun little interaction and bump into each other at Heydays. So, okay, we didn't plan this, but tell me a little bit about your first Heydays experience. Like, how was that for you?
Mind blowing, first of all. It was very fun. I was there mostly for business, so we had quite a busy schedule. I did not get to see everything I wanted to see and enjoy, so I'll be back next year
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
You'll ha-
But the
you'll have to
overall,
come you'll have to come like 10 years in a row to see everything because I've literally been
probably
there 10 years and I've still not seen everything. So,
that's how it feels, yes.
yep,
But
yep.
yeah, I definitely had a great time there, and it was a happy surprise to see that I had the back cover of the pamphlet of the event.
Very good. That was awesome. Congrats, congrats. So yeah, it was
Thank
super fun
you.
to see you because I've been following you on social media for quite a while now, and to bump into you in person, I immediately recognized you, and I think you recognized me too, and we said hi and
Yes,
shook
yes,
hands, gave a little hug, whatever we did. I don't remember.
yes, very happy coincidence. I was just like, hey, you need to come in here.
Yep,
And
yep,
then I
yep.
hugged you for quite some times, and I was like, I know this is weird, but you need to get hang in there for a little more.
Well, it's so cool though because like we're all social media friends and we know each other, we follow each other, and we kind of feel like we get to know each other, and we're already friends, even though we've never really even probably direct message to each other. And then to bump into each other in person, it's almost like, oh, here we are together finally, as you know, as friends forever. So,
Yes,
yep,
exactly. And I'm very happy that I got to meet you in person. It was very enjoyable.
yeah, very cool. Same for me. And then we also, when I did the shout out, I think it was back in November or December, I'd asked for some guests. You had reached out and says, I've got some stories to share. And here we are
Yes, sure
tonight. And
do.
so, just a quick reminder, if you're watching the show tonight, go into the comments and let us know where you're watching from. And we got some amazing stuff. So just so you guys know, Jesse's going to be talking tonight about some situations that she has found herself in early in her riding career that have really helped her evolve into a safer, more prepared, trained backcountry rider now, and we'll get into all of that tonight. So a lot of really good content between a crevasse rescue, a massive avalanche that was a near miss that she thought she lost her dog in, actually, believe it or not. A lot of exciting things to talk about tonight, and just to get to know Jessy a little bit. It's going to be awesome. So, Jessy, why don't you take a few minutes and just let us get to know you a little bit more? So,
Okay, I'll try my best.
all right, all right.
There's so much I could be saying. I've
English,
already,
English this time,
yeah,
English this time, eh?
exactly. I've already lived so many different lives, but what matters for this right now is basically I'm a haywire French woman that moved to BC in 2012 because I wanted to chase my dream of snowboarding with a t-shirt on.
Nice.
Like since I was 8 years old, I was watching magazines, snowboarding magazines and videos, and I would see these people going to Whistler and they would snowboard in the summer. And I was like, wow, this is like the coolest thing ever. I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fast forward, like moving from Quebec, like within Quebec as a child, I moved quite a few times. So I got to see different like size of cities and like enjoy different kind of settings. And yeah, I graduated school in 2012 at like 1 p.m. And by 5 p.m. the same day, I was in a plane to go to Vancouver and come snowboard in Whistler for the summer.
Awesome,
And then I
awesome.
never left.
Awesome, awesome. Well, what about snowmobiling? So you know, like I'm from Minnesota, and so pretty much we were born on a snowmobile. Like I don't maybe on the way to the hospital, I was probably my mom gave birth, and I was on a snowmobile when I was born. Probably not, but that sounds like a good story. How about you?
Yes.
What's your story of like how did you get into snowmobiling, and how did that evolve for you throughout your life, and why has it become such an important part of your life now?
Yeah, so basically, when I was a child, like, I don't want to say like baby, but pretty much, I'm pretty sure I was still wearing diapers the first times my parents hauled me in the back of their snowmobiles on the trails of Quebec. I'm from Gaspésie originally, and it's a very, very good area for snowmobiling in Quebec. There is some good backcountry there too, but back then we would like be satisfied with the trails. And fast forward, I moved to center of Quebec where there was also trails, but the snow was not as good. So my family kind of stepped out of snowmobiling for a few years, and we focused more on snowboarding.
Nice.
And I ended up developing a semi-professional career at snowboarding that led me here
Very cool.
years later. And then when I moved to Whistler in 2012, my goal was to get a snowmobile so I could access the backcountry to go do some sick snowboard lines like I would see in the
Yeah, yeah.
movies. And then the first year I got into snowmobiling, I ended up exploding my knee
Oh,
completely, like ACL, MCL, fibula, patella, like everything was gone.
ouch.
So that definitely put a setback on my snowboarding career. And I could still snowmobile even though I could not snowboard at the time. So I just went into the dealership locally and bought my first snowmobile because I needed to get up there to at least see the view.
Nice, 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 nice. Awesome.
Yeah, and then like the week after I purchased my first snowmobile, or a few weeks after that, anyways, we went on a sick trip to Alaska, and yeah.
Very
It
good,
was
very
fun.
good. All right, so before we jump into the rest of the story, I want to do a couple more shout outs here. So again, we've talked, we had Sodi there. He was the last one. So Sharon's in there with thumbs up. We've got Rory here watching from Wisconsin. So Rory, thanks for watching. Appreciate you here. Please share out. So we've also got Pete. So Pete was one of the people I snowmobiled with on yesterday, so Saturday. So Pete, thanks for coming in, tuning in,
Nice.
watching. Pete's also, believe it or not, new to Facebook. I talked to him when he joined our snowmobile club. I talked him into joining Facebook so he could see all the events going on in our club. And then we also have our friend Mike Morrison, also from British Columbia, who's here watching tonight too. So everybody who's watching, do me a favor, quick share this out, and if you do, you're going to be entered in to win this time a Kokanee dry bag. So we've got a new prize up for grabs, and Mountain Lab's got some amazing products here. So great item for you to put all your stuff in. Make sure it stays dry. You can use it in the winter time for sledding. You can use it in the summertime for your boating, whatever you do. So get in there, share that out, and then we're going to dive right back into story time. So you moved to British Columbia in 2012, and then within that next season or so, you were out starting to ride backcountry finally instead of just trail riding. And you had a couple of incidents that happened. So let's talk about the first one you shared with me. It's a pretty powerful story about being in the backcountry and getting pulled into a crevasse rescue. So I'll just add one more thing quick is like avalanche is a big deal in the backcountry, but if you're in an area like British Columbia, even here in Washington State, there's areas where we ride where we're up on glaciers. And if you're glacier riding, one of the major dangers that can be out there is these crevasses that sometimes are exposed and open, but a lot of times they're not. Like they're just barely covered with some snow. You might be riding right over top of a 50-foot, 100-foot, 200-foot deep hole in a glacier, and it can be an extremely dangerous situation. And so, gotta always be aware. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that, Jesse, and what's going on with the
Now
that.
that we're in it, I just want to show you guys a picture. This is the situation of our glacier here in Pemberton right now. I don't know if you can see, probably not, eh?
A little bit, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
a little bit,
It gets
but
kind of washed out a
sorry,
little bit.
it's like,
There you go.
yeah. But anyways, it, like you can see right now, everything is the most open I've seen it
Wow.
ever, and it's very scary. So just a heads up, anyone traveling onto the glaciers in British Columbia right now, the base is still very skinny for those big crevasses, and they're pretty open.
Very good, very good.
Scary.
Well, take us back to that season when you were out riding, and tell us the story about the day. Like build it up to it. Like give us
Okay.
set the stage. Like why were you out of the mountain? Where were you at? What were you doing? And then what happened? So
Okay, so the first winter I moved to Whistler, like I said earlier, I was really more into snowboarding. That's what I came here for. And then I got to meet a bunch of cool guys that were snowmobilers. They also snowboard a bit, but they were mostly snowmobilers. And all winter, like 2013, I was like annoying them, like, hey, you need to bring me up. Like, I've snowmobiled before. I know what I'm doing. Like kind of that like fresh
yeah.
out of Quebec cocky attitude. Like I thought I knew it all.
Oh yeah. Snowmobiling
Like
off trail and
classic.
on trail is a little different, as you discovered very quickly, I'm sure. So
100%.
yeah,
So they ended up like finally one of them ended up taking me in the spring. He had a spare sled. So I hopped on this spare sled and like basically met them at the parking lot. We unloaded and off we went. And 1 kilometer up the trail, I was already getting super sore.
no, nice.
And then the guy that was with us blew his snowmobile.
Oh no.
So that's like the first like lesson about snowmobiles I've learned is that they blow up very easily. And like I said, first time out there, having no idea what I'm doing. I've never been in the backcountry for any like purposes before, not
Yeah,
snowboarding, not skiing, nothing. So
yeah,
it's really my first experience. I have no idea what's going on. And then the guy that blows his sled, before we leave him at the parking lot, because we had to tow him back, he hands me a transceiver and he's like, here you go. Now that I don't need it, you might.
yeah, yeah.
And then I'm just like, what the hell is this? And then they explain me real quick and they're like, yeah, this is how you like put it in search and then you follow the arrows and you try to dig the person out.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, are we gonna have to dig each other out? Like kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
not knowing what I was walking into at all.
Yeah.
I was fine. I was like still kind of confident that these guys knew what they were doing and that I was
Yeah.
safe. So we kept going, just the two of us, my date,
So this is the
first
this
date.
this is the stage of everybody's snowmobile career that I call ignorance is bliss. You've heard that phrase before. Ignorance is bliss because
100%.
you're just out having fun. You have no idea how dangerous it potentially could be or what kind of risks there are involved. And so you're just in that phase called ignorance is bliss. So keep
Yeah.
going with your story and we'll build onto that as what time goes on too. So
Yeah, and at the time I was definitely guilty of that.
yep. Yep.
So we keep going. We end up like going through all those 26 kilometers of bumps until we hit the like glacier area in the Rutherford Glacier in Pemberton, and we go up like a pretty sketchy glacier. The picture I was trying to show you earlier, that's super sketchy right now.
Yep.
Basically, we went up that on my first day.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, make sure you don't like go off the tracks, stay in the tracks, and then you'll be fine. So that's what I did. And
Easier
then
said
we
than done,
managed.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But everything was okay. But I had, like I said, I had no idea that like even where we were going was dangerous at the time. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. He's
The
going,
funny
I'm
the
going.
funny
Like,
thing is like I've actually ridden the Rutherford, and I believe I've probably been up this exact same route that you're talking about
oh
where
yes,
you
of
get to the
course
end
you
of the
did.
trail and then you're at the foot of the glacier and you have to now climb up the glacier to get into it and there's all kinds of crevasse cracks
Exactly.
all around you. I remember that spot actually very specifically and I can imagine as a newer, even myself in 2012, I had been riding mountains since 2007. So I didn't completely suck, but I still sucked. I was still on that suck train. So it's like
Yeah. I
so
definitely sucked, but I just did not know.
yeah, exactly. You didn't know you sucked yet, so you was totally fine.
But then we finally kind of get off the trails and like playing on the glacier, and it's kind of flat, and I'm trying to paw carve. And I honestly could not paw carve even if my life depended on it at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
I was struggling very hard and kind of just like playing around, doing my thing. And all of a sudden there's a woman that comes by on a sled, a pink wrapped sled, by
oh,
the
there you
way.
go.
I gotta say it because back then I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
It's inspired
And
another
now
part
I
of your life.
sell graphic
Yeah,
kits.
exactly. That's awesome.
But that was my first time seeing someone with a graphic kit on their sled anyways, and she was like kind of panicky and asking if we had ropes or a turbo sled because someone was stuck in a crevasse and they were struggling taking him out. So, not knowing anything and having nothing with me, I'm just like, go ask that guy. And then she goes and talks to him, and then they kind of split, and she just like leaves. And I'm like, so what's going on? And then the guy comes back to me, my date. My date comes back to me and he's like, oh well, there's someone stuck in a crevasse over there and they need help. I don't even have a rope with me right now. Like I don't think we can be very useful.
Yeah,
He was like, I was not expecting you to even make it here. So he was not prepared.
yeah,
And then like both my parents are firefighters. So I really have that sense of like someone needs help, like I need to go and help or at
yeah,
least offer my help. Like
yeah,
even
yeah,
though if I'm clueless, I need to offer help. So I finally convinced my date to bring me up to them because there was no way I could get where they were with my own snowmobile.
yeah.
So we did. He doubled me up, and then we walked down to where they were to notice kind of the scene. And I like set up my GoPro on my helmet right by the crevasse. Like I basically like kind of like walked over the crevasse, put my GoPro there, and then like filmed the whole rescue.
Wow.
And like as everything was happening pretty fast, and like those girls that were trying to get that guy out of the crevasse were fairly small, like not strong enough for sure. He was a fairly big guy.
Mhm.
And as I'm thinking like, holy cow, like what are we gonna do? He was like maybe 30 feet down at that point, and like the crevasse seemed like it was like pretty narrow. Like I
Okay.
don't want to say that he was like wedged in there, but
But
like
he was wedged in
pretty
there.
close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like maybe his Billy saved his life. I don't know.
yeah.
But
Well, I'll
that
pause you for
that's
a
what it seemed like.
I'll pause you for a second just to give people a little more context because there's a lot of people who watch the show who've never ridden on a glacier before. And I can tell you, like here in Washington State, like Mount Baker, we have glacier up on Mount Baker, and there's crevasses that you walk up to, and if you even dare get close enough to the edge, you even look down the hole, like, or you're off on that side where you can kind of see down, or you're up above it somewhere where you're safe and you can see down it. Like many of these crevasses, like you can't see the bottom. Like it's literally like
Oh,
if
like
you were to fall into them, you're going down 50, 70, 80, 100 plus feet down. And there's like on Mount Baker, there's legitimately people who have hiked, snowmobiled, all kinds of things, have gone into these crevasses and have never come out. Like they're literally still up in those
never been
crevasses.
found.
Yeah, they'll never
Yeah.
be found because what happens is you go down into these crevasses, and a lot of times if they're deep enough, they're hollow underneath even, right? Because there's running water underneath them sometimes in the summer months and stuff, and so you can get sucked under the glacier and never to be heard from again. And so it's a
Yeah.
pretty
Some
eerie
of
place
those
to ride
holes,
sometimes.
yeah, some of those holes around here, they literally like the hurt is swallowing you.
Yeah,
You can literally go all the way down to the center of the hurt from some of those holes with the volcanoes and whatnot. So
that's
it's
crazy.
pretty intense. And there's some stories about a guy that walked like basically fell in a crevasse. His friends could not find him or like even where he had fallen, and he ended up walking under the snow inside the glacier for like don't quote me on this, but
Yeah,
something like 5 days,
holy crap.
and made his way out.
He actually got out. No way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane. That's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
like a camp story or whatever, that like some guys were working on a mining camp and that happened. I
Yeah.
don't know like the
Yeah.
details of it, but that's kind of a local
Yeah,
legend.
yeah, but it's legit high risk, and so it's one of those. And we tell people even here in Washington, up on Mount Baker, like if you don't know that mountain, it's not a place for a new person to go ride without someone showing them around, because like very
Yeah.
easily you can get into a spot that you can't get back out of. So anyway, back to your
Yeah,
story with the
that's
glacier
the
rescue.
exact
Yeah,
same way I feel about the Rutherford Glacier, and having experienced this firsthand, like right from the bat, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then that guy who was my date
yeah, yeah,
just like came by as I was kind of like, oh my god, how are we gonna deal with this?
yeah,
He just like showed up like a hero and pulled the guy out like so manly, just so manly.
yeah. Did you get hooked on how manly he was? Did you?
Oh yes, I'm still with him to
You're
this
still with
day.
him to
That's
this
when
day.
I knew. That's when I knew he was a real mountain man, and that I would be safe with him anywhere we would go.
Perfect,
He
perfect.
kept us chill, took the situation under
So
control, got the guy
So
out of there, and
so
then
love at first glacier rescue then. So there
yeah,
you go.
that's right. Couples that rescue together stick together, I
Oh, there
guess.
you go. There you go. Nice, nice, nice.
But yeah, that was very intense, and I was very happy that we ended up getting him out. And like years later, I came across that guy at Link's photo and video shoot. He was one of the filmers on the crew.
Oh wow.
And like at first I was like, should I say something, should I not say something, like does he even recognize me? I was just like, so for the first couple of days we were working together, I was just like not sure. And then on the third day he came up to me and he was like, do you remember me? And I was like, yes, I do. And both of us started crying and hugged each other.
That's awesome.
And that
Yeah.
was like 10 years later, if not more.
Wow. That's crazy. And
Mhm. Yeah,
so
it was very, very intense and
yeah.
very eye-opening to see how a mountain can actually swallow
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like for somebody who's a new backcountry rider, there's even people here who watch the show who are still trail riders, like they're Midwest riders, whatever. They've been out to the mountains maybe one or two times. But, as somebody who, went into the backcountry, had a potentially very traumatic experience right from the beginning, like did you find early on then that you became afraid of the mountain, or that you didn't want to go back for a while, you gave yourself some time, or how did you internalize that, and how did you then start to re-engage after that back into the backcountry again? Like what did you do differently from that scenario, and how did you get integrated back into riding again?
So basically, when that event happened, I fell in love with two things:
Okay.
the man and the intensity of the sport.
Okay. Oh, you're one of those crazy people. No, I was kidding.
No, for real though, I totally own it. I am a
Yeah.
crazy French bee.
Nice, nice.
And I own it up completely. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I am.
As
It's
long
like
as you know
deep
who
in
you
my
are, life
core.
is good, right? So
Exactly.
that's funny. That's
But
funny.
I got completely hooked onto the adventure for sure. And then because he was also doing this and that was his thing. Like I mean, I come from snowboarding, skateboarding. Like I had semi-professional careers at most like individual sports, extreme sports you can name.
Yeah,
And for him though it was like snowmobiling was his thing.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, I know if I want to get with like stay with him, I need to get into it as well, but I want to do it right. I
yeah.
want to do it safely, and I want to make sure if something like this happens again, I will never feel that powerless ever again either.
Nice.
So following like not right away, because at the time back in 2013, like avalanche education was definitely not as like popular as it is right now. And I remember us looking into some AST courses, but there was nothing like sled specific. And I had to like basically, because we were late in the season when we looked, I would have had to drive quite far to actually get the education. So it did not happen right away. But the winter after that, like my partner lined me up with AST 1 and 2 back
Nice.
to back in January, February. And then I think it was in March, I did crevasse rescue. And in April, I did wilderness first aid.
Yeah, and
So it was just
that's
like,
fairly typical that, people, and even in a community, if there's a community where there's some kind of a severe accident that's happened, like say an avalanche death or some close call or something that was very impactful to the community, in many, many cases, individuals as well as groups of, sledders in those areas then like eagerly try to get their education and things. So that's a very natural reaction is like, man, I didn't know what was going on. I got thrown into this situation, or I see people that I know that are in this situation. This stuff is real. I need to protect myself to make sure that I can go out and, make every day a round trip, right? Go out,
yeah.
ride, and get back home again. So,
And something I want to note following this is that what I've noticed through the years, the people that witness other people are more inclined to like get their butt in gears and like get their certifications and whatnot than the people that have actually been involved in the incident. It's as if when you see it from the outside perspective, it is more traumatizing than when you are in it. And in Revelstoke, like talking about that classic, like French people coming up to BC and like, let's go, let's hit it, the snow is there, having no clue what they're getting into
yeah,
and how to save each other, is it almost problematic? I don't
yeah,
want to say it is because it's
yeah,
not my area of expertise, but from what I've seen through the years, every season there is an incident involving like people that are French from out east coming to the west, not having the proper education to attack the terrain that they're attacking, basically.
yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's why I think, it's why this podcast exists, honestly, is the reason we do this is to just expose the concept of how dangerous the backcountry can be, but also how fun it can be and why we do it and, all the lessons learned and all that along the way. So, um, earlier tonight, we talked about ignorance is bliss and the phase you were in when you first got out there. And then you had the incident, you had the accident, that you were near, you went and got a bunch of training, and you get into that next phase of like paranoia, like, oh my gosh, this could happen anytime, and so I'm going to go get the
Oof.
training, and you get into this like fear and this paranoia. So to me, that's the second step in the three steps. There's another one coming, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about that soon. But you've got ignorance is bliss when you start, and then you have something that happens that causes you to get into this phase of paranoia where like Bigfoot is everywhere. Like big monsters are out there in the mountains and they're gonna get me. And now you become afraid of riding sometimes, right? There's a phase that you go through, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna get to that third phase here in a little bit as we talk more. So we'll get to that later. But go ahead and let's shift gears if you're okay with that, and we'll talk about
Yeah.
now the avalanche that you had a very close call in. So how many years later was this? So the first accident was 2013. What year
And
was
then
the
I
avalanche?
started, yeah, I got my certifications, I want to say 2015, 16, like that winter.
Okay.
And then that same winter, before I got the crevasse rescue and the wilderness med, so it must have been February-ish, but I
Yeah.
had AST 1 and 2, and I was in that phase of paranoia.
Yeah.
Like being the only educated women in my very male-dominated group of very experienced riders.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting dynamic for sure. So
And like I would be, hey guys, like this and that, and like, oh, come on, like it's not that bad. The avalanche forecast is fine. Like we'll be good. And it was like kind of like the recurring speech that
yeah.
season.
Yep.
I was like always kind of like overlooking everything, and then the boys would kind of like talk me into like still going.
Yeah.
Which is like not good, and I know it, but
Yep.
like at the time I didn't have enough balls to just step up and be that person.
Yeah.
And it was true that I was paranoid. Like I
Yeah.
would see one tree like this amongst like bunch of trees, and I'd be like, nope, nope, there's been a slide there.
Yep. Yep. No, true story.
And while this season was happening with the boys just being a bit annoyed with me being a paranoid person, we also got into winter camping, my partner and I, and we bought a canvas tent with a wood stove, and like basically we're taking that to the backcountry and would stay there for like weeks at a time. Like at first I think it was like 3 or 4 nights, and then we would like kind of extend or stays out there. And one of the first trips we did, we set up camp in the middle of the night. We could not see anything. It was a huge snowstorm. We just remembered one of our friends saying like, you're going to get close to a creek. There's going to be a bridge and then the meadows, and then you can park in the meadows and like set up tents there and you'll be fine for the weekend. So we're like trying to look for that meadows, but we see the river, so we're like, oh, we're close enough to get water, so let's just set up right here,
Okay.
not seeing anything around us, like having no idea where we are. And following this, it snowed for 4 nights, like 4 days, 4 full days, like day and nights, full on snow. Like we would have to get out in the middle of the night to dig out the tent
Wow.
because the walls were starting to collapse.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And after those 4 days, we got sun, and then it was like so much pow, and then such a beautiful day. We're like, we gotta get out there, let's go. Like not really thinking about the dangers and whatnot. We were just very excited. And then we get to that meadow that like we can now see, and I'm like, oh, that's where our friend said we should have like put the tent, but we decided to put it somewhere else. And then I look up and I'm like there's a lot of old growths around here, but like this looked like it would have been a bit exposed, so it's better where we are anyways. Like that
Yeah.
was kind of my line of thought as we were going. And then my partner crosses like that like sort of exposed area that like it's hard to tell if it ever slid or not. And then I wait a little bit just cause freshly educated.
Yep. Yep.
I was like, okay, I'm putting some distance between the two of us. And I finally joined him on the other side. And we were going to go for some snowboard laps, but there was so much snow. We were like, no point of even bringing the snowboards. Like the snowmobiles are going to be just fine. So we throw our snowboards in the snow while we're having that conversation about like not snowboarding. And we hear, but like it did not stop for what felt like at least a minute and a half. Like
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, man, this is pretty intense. And like I could feel the ground shaking. And then I tell my partner, like, I'm not very comfortable with this. And we could see through the trees that like something came down,
Yeah.
but we could not see
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
face. So it was just like, and then I was a bit sketched out. I was thinking about the dog at the tent. And then I was like, oh, if she followed us, she would have maybe been where it looks like it slid. And then again, my partner, you're freaking out. Like, let's just go for some paw turns and then go back and check it out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I follow him. We go for a little lap and then come back to the snowboards. And again, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not feeling very good about like what we heard earlier. let's like try to trek back. And he's like, oh, chill out, like just have a beer. And he throws me a beer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, you want me to chill? I like smashed it on my forehead and shotgunned it, crushed it in my hands and said, let's fucking go now.
There you go. There you go. You showed him. Huh?
I was just like, that's not true, that I again will like go against like my instincts kind of
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
And then he goes in front of me back onto like the single track leading to that little meadow.
Yep.
And as he like does the couple last corners before getting to the meadow, I could feel like he slowed down and he's like looking around and the whole energy has changed.
Yeah.
And then when I came to the corner where we could see the meadow, basically all those old growths were gone.
Oh my gosh.
And some trees were snapped at like 40 feet in the air, and like it looked like war. And the debris were like, I don't want to be exaggerating, but in my mind, it felt like 4 football fields. It was
Yeah.
probably 2, but like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
it really felt like it was humongous.
Yeah.
And then we were looking at the face, and the whole mountain had slid down except for like one little patch at the top.
Yeah.
So there was chances of a secondary. So we were like, okay, let's try to go around the debris and then back onto the single track. But as we were in there, it was like, I think a creek had been brought down with the snow, and everything was like big slush, and like
Wow.
it was very dangerous to just like get stuck in there, which I did. I
Yeah.
got stuck right in there, right below where there was chances of a secondary. And then my partner came and helped me get unstuck. And then he said, don't go around, just go right to the trailhead as fast as you can. And don't worry about me, I'll come. So I'm just like, whew, like, okay. And at that point, like just getting unstuck was like a
Yeah.
huge challenge for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So got out of there, got back to the trailhead. And when I got to where the trail met the avalanche debris, I could see dog paws, like paw marks coming into the debris, but there was nothing coming out.
Yeah.
And at that point, it went like no more noise, no more images, blackout. Like all I could hear was like, and then like I checked out mentally, and I
Yeah.
was like, we lost the dog. It's
Yeah,
over.
you had visions of losing your best friend, your dog, right? So
Oh
it's like,
yes, one like my child. Like I don't have a child, so my dog is my child,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and that's how it really felt. And like then my partner kind of met me back at the same time, and he like seen that I was freaking out, so he took the lead again in the trail. And like a few corners after that, like she was right there. So basically she had went into the debris, probably lost her smell, and like made her way back through the trees instead of back on the trail. So that's
gotcha.
why we could not see her paws. But like, oh my god, that was crazy. And when we got back to the tent, it was like time to pack up.
Yeah.
And it was the most quiet like we've ever been packing up. Like, you know,
Well,
couples, you
it's
argue a
that.
little bit when you pack
Yeah,
up.
well, it's that reality check. It's that reality check of like how close that potentially was, right? Like, I mean, you weren't like literally right next to it when it happened, but you had been through the exact zone. And what other than luck and timing prevented you from being in the wrong spot at the wrong time? I mean, it was
Nothing.
probably minutes is all it was, maybe 10
Yeah.
minutes or something in between. And
Not
like,
even, not even, in all honesty, like by the time we like left the zone where all the debris were to
yeah,
like where we put our snowboards was like
yeah.
maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, and it
Like,
would not have been. I mean, based on what you're describing, it would not have been survivable, right? If there was two of you
no,
there at the foot of the hill and it came down, like you guys both would have
no
just
chances.
been lights
No
out, right?
chances.
And so that's
Hmm.
one of those moments where you kind of see your life flash before your eyes and think about like, man, what that was way too close. And I've been near avalanches. Like there's 2 or 3 times in my life where I've been, nothing as big as what you're describing there. But like there was one time where I had a group of 8 riders literally on a trail, but because there was so much snow, the trail broke above us, or it broke above us, and it split our group in half. There was a point where I was the tail person four people were on one side of the avalanche debris, another person was on the other side of the avalanche debris, and it was, it was not a huge avalanche. It was probably only, the debris pile was maybe like 7,500 feet across, maybe at the most, and but it was enough to go, like, if it had hit somebody and they were in that exact spot at the wrong time, they would have gotten knocked over a very steep hill down into some trees, very likely would have gotten hurt. There's other times where I'm watching a friend who, one of the first avalanches I ever saw was, I watched a friend ride over to a hill to go, quote unquote, check it out. And it looked dangerous enough after we had had our first avalanche class. He was like thinking about, like, okay, this looks risky. And he didn't even go on the hill. He stopped at the bottom of the hill. And while he was stopped at the bottom of the hill, it remote triggered, like the snow collapsed and it remote triggered, and the whole thing above him started coming down at him. He quickly got turned around and got out of there because he was still on a sled, still running. But again, those close calls really give you a wake up call and help you realize, like, man, if something had gone wrong, what would have been the outcome, right? And what could I have done to prevent that? And that's where, getting inspired to go take the training you did and to get more experience and all that. I'll just touch on it now again, but like, to what I call the third phase of, avalanche education and your journey through avalanche education is, it starts with ignorance is bliss, life is grand because you don't know any different. And then you get to that phase of, like, you get some of these experiences where you're probably still in this moment where paranoia, fear and paranoia, where you get nervous about getting out there. And then what I've seen and experienced over the years is that as people continue to go into more training, get more experience, understand what they're doing, and they can make better decisions to mitigate, like, you can go out snowmobiling on a high avalanche danger day if you're not going into avalanche terrain, right? Like, go to the flat meadows
Exactly.
and you can go have fun. And so that's what I call it's fun again. Like, I call it the it's fun again, phase, because you now have enough training, now have enough experience to be able to think on your own to avoid those dangerous situations, and know that if it is dangerous, you just avoid it. If it's not dangerous, that might be the day you go play a little bit on the big hills and stuff like that if the risk is low, right? So, but yeah, ignorance is bliss, paranoia, and then it's fun again. And I'm happy to say it's back to that. It's fun again for me, right? Getting out there and having fun, because no matter what the
Likewise.
conditions, it's like you can go out and shred, have a good time. So yeah, so amazing stories. Thanks for sharing. Hopefully it's impactful for everybody who is listening. And speaking of that, let's do a couple more shout outs. We've got Debbie Lipka, Lypka, so is here from Canada as well. Is it Siberta? Maybe it must be Alberta.
Alberta,
Must be a
probably,
typo.
yeah.
Must be a typo. Yep, that's okay. And then I've got Travis here. He's from Alberta as well. Who else I got Neil Scheibel here from, I think he's from out in Wisconsin as well. And Sharon is back just commenting, saying, amazing story, so scary. So, thanks for sharing those as well. But yeah, for everybody who's watching, again, thanks you for commenting in here, letting us know who's watching. Thanks for sharing this out and getting us some friends to see the show and to help us get this out there and let everybody learn from this story. So, I think
Thanks
that,
for giving me the place and opportunity to have a
yeah,
voice on that concern. I really
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, no problem at all. It's absolutely my pleasure. And I think, the next fun thing we get to talk about is you're part of this pretty stellar crew called the Braap Babes. So why don't you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about who the Braap Babes are, what they're about, what you've done in the past, and then more importantly, what's coming up for this upcoming season. So,
Yeah, so basically talking about having fun again,
yep,
the
yep.
Brad Babes are back.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, so basically Brad Babes is a group that my friend Angelisa Edwards here in Pemberton started back in 2018. Technically back then, like, just like avalanche education, it was like kind of like it was hard for women to find other women to go ride with. And in our area, the only way we could do that was to pay someone to bring us. But snowmobiling itself is really expensive right from the start. So if you also have to pay someone to go out, if you want to go out without your partner each time, it piles up really quickly.
Yeah.
So basically, Angelisa came up with this idea of having like a group of women coming together, which were like called the leaders. and organize some fun events for the girls here in the C2 Sky that would like basically get the community involved and get the girls to know each other and find like new riding buddies. And basically, like our goal was to show other women that it is possible to go out there without your respective partner and just with a gang, like a girl gang. And most importantly, both coming from a snowboarding background, Angelisa and I, we really wanted to start filming snowmobiling. Like at the time for women, it was very rare to even see like videos. And even now, I want to say like there's a lot of photos out there, but like video parts
Yeah, yeah.
is pretty rare. So that was something that Angelisa and I were really like kind of craving for ourselves to have video parts every season and like kind of get each other pumped to push each other and
Nice.
get better basically. And yeah, so 2018, she reached out and she was like, you know, you're the only professional snowmobiler I know. Because back then I was the only woman around with sponsors and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was like, would you like to help me in like making this happen and get the girls together and show a trick or
Very
two
cool.
if you can? So right away, my answer was yes. And I was like, in all honesty, though, I'm so all over the place. I don't know how long I'll last. But so far, I'm the one who lasted the longest by her
Very cool.
side. So yeah, and for like the whole like COVID kind of time, we did not do much because everyone was not allowed to do much. But now in 2025, Angelisa is super motivated to film again, and we just had a ladies' ride today with the Powder Mountain Snowmobile Club down in Whistler.
Nice.
We had 60 women signed up.
Wow, that's
I
amazing.
don't know how many actually showed up, but there was a lot of us. We all split into like smaller groups according to our abilities, but it was very fun and it was nice to get back at it on a sunny day. The past couple
Oh yeah.
rides we had with the Powder Mountain Snowmobile Club in the past couple years, it was raining.
Oh no.
So we didn't have much snow, but at least we had the sun this time around. We built a little jump. The girls got to send it a little bit, and yeah, it was super fun.
Very cool, very cool. So this coming season, anything else that's on the forefront that's still coming that we haven't talked about yet?
That would be like related to Braap Babes. That's pretty much it. I think Angelisa is gonna come out with some new merch just to try and help some of the girls with some filming fees and whatnot for the movie. But definitely stay tuned for a end of season movie for the Braap Babes this season.
Well, very, very good, very good. So, what is there anything else you want to share tonight? Because we got two things left to do. One is to give away the prize that I have. I told you I would do that here tonight live at the end of the show, and
Yeah,
then the other thing is just thank yous, shout outs, all that kind of stuff too. And so we'll do that at the very end. So,
perfect.
anything else that you want to share here?
But earlier you asked me about what I do for work, and I
Oh,
think
there you
it
go.
might be a good idea for me to mention it here
Sure,
because it
sure.
seems like a lot of people get confused about what I do for work.
Yeah, yeah.
And the reason why is that is because I got my hands in a lot of different bags. I like to call myself the Jess of all trades, master of badassery. It's
Nice.
basically whoever needs help business wise, marketing and modeling or whatnot, they can reach out to me and I'm your girl. Like
Very
whatever
cool.
you need.
That's
And
awesome.
I also sell graphic kits online and have a lot of like collaborative kickbacks with some of my sponsors, which is really cool. And I also help my partner running his construction renovation business.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm just over here getting ready to do the giveaway because we have to use a random number generator. So let's find that. Make sure we're ready there. So I've got that teed up. Well, let's try it one more time because I keep bumping it and it does a number and I don't want it to do it yet. I want it to wait. It's at 0. And then I think I can do a screen share here. Let's see what we got here. So our input, our source. Let's do a screen share.
Was Amber Rose the last person you hosted?
Yeah, one of the last. I think it was she was the last or the not.
Oh,
I
okay.
have a
Because
hard
I
time
was
keeping
like,
track.
I might win because I shared that one.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, maybe you'll win. You'll get a chance to win. All right, so allow. All right, so we're trying to screen share here. I think people can see my screen, And if I go over here, people can see that. Are you able to see this too, Jesse, or not? You see the
Yeah,
Excel sheet up there?
yeah.
So I've got all the different shows I've done this season so far that are included in this share and win. And so we've got a total of 219 names of different people who've shared out throughout the season so far that are in as a chance to win on this. Oops, somehow that got too big. Let's go zoom back out there. There we go. And so as a reminder, I'll do a quick pop this up again. But what we're going to be giving away is this backcountry first aid kit. So this is from Mountain Lab, a great first aid kit. I believe it or not, I actually have it right here. So in my hands, ready to ship out here as soon as we give away the winner. And so 219 names. I've got a random number generator, which I'll do on screen here. So right. And all I have to do is like tap the phone, it'll throw out a number, and then I go pick out who it was. Let's see, let's drop the picture again. Let's hide that. And then let's see if I hit that or shake it.
Oh,
Come on.
maybe you need to
There
tap
it
the
goes.
front. Okay, you
Number
got it.
59. Let's go down and see who number 59 was. Number 59, and the number on the right side is the one we're going with, not the Excel number on the other side. But we
Okay.
have Kevin Hedstrom here. I know he is out in Montana, in Dillon, Montana. He's a regular watcher of the show, and we're grateful for him sharing the show out. And
Whoop, whoop.
congratulations to Kevin for winning the first aid kit. That's amazing. I'm glad you got a chance
Congrats,
to win.
Kevin.
Yep, very good, very good. All right, so let me quit sharing here again. We'll go back to just us again here. There we go. And now let's wrap it up with some thank yous and some shout outs. Like, who do you want to share some love with before we wrap up the show tonight? So
I'm gonna send myself some love at Poir Wraps.
perfect, perfect. Tell everybody what your last name means in French. Like, that's such an
Okay.
amazing, fun little story. So
Okay, so this is sorry on the other side. This is my business logo there. Woo!
perfect, perfect,
And it says Poire, which means pear in French, because
perfect.
my last name is Poirier, which is pear tree.
Pear tree.
So that's why. And when I was a semi-professional snowboarder, all my buddies, snowboarding buddies, would call me Petite Poire,
Ah,
so little pear.
little pear, little pear. The
Yeah,
crazy pear, the flying pear, like something like anything
exactly.
to do with a
That's
pear,
why.
right?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the booty I got.
Oh no.
And I
Nice.
made a logo actually that is like a pear butt. I
Oh
love
no.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
fun, fun.
I'll have to send you pictures of that.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, so there's that. Just a FYI, everything I do with my business goes into gas, oil, and support to other athletes. There
Nice.
is nothing that goes into, like, let's say my house or like my food. All that budget goes back into snowmobiling in my community.
Very cool.
So that's something that I thrive on and basically built my customer base out of. It's like support me and I'll support everyone back.
That's perfect. Well, that's a great way
And
to be. Like, if we can all help each
yeah,
other out, get through this world, that's a better place than that we live in. So
that's right. And there's also Angelisa at Braap Babes that I want to thank so much for her hard work and to not give up on everything that she's been up to through the years. It's awesome, and I'm very happy that we're back. And I'd like also to thank the guys at Chupi, because I joined their tribe this year and I'm very happy about it. I absolutely love everything I've tried from their gear so far, and it's a very nice, refreshing change for me. I was with CKX for like 8 years,
gotcha.
so it's nice to step into something different and try different things, especially considering they have Liat making their helmets now, which I am a huge fan. In the summer, Liat is my go-to all the time, so I'm pretty pumped on that change.
Yep, that's
And
awesome.
there's also my friend Natasha at Les Saisons that I want to thank for all the nice toques, neck warmers, and
Very cool.
accessories that she makes and gives me. I really appreciate it. And of course, the man, the mountain man, the one and only Sebas at Zone Garage Sea to Sky, my partner, who I would definitely not be where I am without him.
Awesome.
I owe him all my snowmobile success, that's
Mm,
for sure.
very good. Very good. All right. Well, I don't know if we've mentioned it tonight or not yet, but I always like to remind everybody, the name of the show is Live Large Universe. And sometimes people wonder, like, well, what does live large mean other than the obvious, right? But I tell everybody it's one of three things: it's live life to the fullest, make the most of every day, and make a difference to others. And I think when we pick guests like yourself and we talk about the stories and what you're doing, you're living your best life, you're living an adventure, even the days that are tough out there when you're doing crevasse rescues, you're making the most of it. And at the same time, you're out there making a difference to others. And so that's why we call this show the Live Large Universe. And so,
And
got,
today is
yep,
such an awesome day for this with all the love I received from the girls at the the
very cool.
ladies ride and now with you here and everybody that tuned in. I'm like so grateful and my heart is
Amen.
full.
Yep, yep. All right, everybody. God bless you. Have a great night, and don't forget to live large. So, Jesse, you can hang tight for just a minute, and we'll see you on the flip side here. So, bye,
Perfect.
everybody.